it's about time to start.
Yeah.
Well, we got the forum of many that are going to be here today. The Eden City Planning Commission will please come to order at this time. We are April 25th, 2013 at 2 p.m. at the Eden Volunteer Hall at 499 Mill Street, Nevada. Would you please rise and follow me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have roll call, please?
Chairman Blankus.
Here.
Member Peeler.
Here.
Member Chilton.
Here.
Member Sundell is absent. City Attorney Riggs.
Here.
City Building Inspector Christensen. That's all, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go to item number 2, public comment. Do we have any comments from the public?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've spoken to you before, and I'm asking again. You need to hold your planning commission meetings in the evenings, as have been done for decades. You're making it hard for the taxpayer and those that need to work to attend your meetings. How much hardship should citizens endure, for crying out loud? We're paying it all, start to finish. How can you give proper advice to the city council a mere hour or two before their meeting? It wasn't done like that in the past. You need to go back and redo it, make it easier for those people that need to attend and not lose any work. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to see a list for your building permits, any special use permits that you've reviewed. Where's the money? I've answered that in the past. To date, I've received only one report. You should be getting that monthly. Mr. Chairman, this is a new month, and I've yet to see anything revised, if there is anything as far as special use permits or home occupations. Monthly reports, you used to cry all the time when I was mayor, where are the reports? Now I'm just making a simple request and I'm not getting anything. One in the years that I've been coming here. Mr. Chairman, the Clark Plain has finished its project, but the strait has been narrowed. You had other people come before you, pay the fees, have the public hearing, did the proper notification, and yet the Copper Plain is not doing anything. When was it narrowed? Who took out the permit? When was it on the agenda? At the RTC meeting this morning, Mr. Bribey, not Mr. Bribey, but Mr. Stork, your street supervisor, says it's been that way. That they had to bring it out because the Mountain Leader putting its power poles where they put it. I asked him, who was the engineer that did that? Those power poles that they're now on that corner were put in way after the rest of it. All you've got to do is eyeball it. You don't have to be a engineer to see that. You have a hazard there. It's not in compliance with the rules and regulations that you folks helped set up, and you need to address that. You've had others come before you, pay the fees. You've made them hold the hearings, and yet you have a councilman that looks like he's just sliding by. You need to address that. Are you going to do that? How many times do I have to bring it up? Mr. Chairman, you have a city code in regards to fences, fence heights. You're not abiding by it. You gave me a notice when my brother, when we were in compliance, and yet you have a city out here that's not in compliance. You have sidewalk widths, and you're not in compliance there. What are you going to do about it? I'd like some answers, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Being none? Prior to going to item number 3, I would like to introduce Rick Simpson to the board. He's a potential nominee for replacement on our board to replace Ms. Conger. And I invited him here to our meeting today, so I can see maybe after the meeting he might not want to be part of us.
It's my first foray into the public domain, except for my previous job in law enforcement, so.
Ah, good, we got a heavy hitter.
Thank you.
You want me to make a statement or what's called?
Well, if you'd like to, and let us know some of your history.
Chairman, I thank you for.
I've got a conception of it, but the rest of the board doesn't, so.
Well, I'll give you the short history. I was born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa, and moved to Las Vegas when I was 25 to join Metropolitan Police Department. I worked there for 28 years. The last 11, I supervised the domestic violence detail, missing persons detail as investigating lieutenant. After retirement, I've taken a couple of small positions in sales, but not panned out as well as it has taking a full-time position with my wife in real estate. So I think having an understanding of real estate matters, I'm just getting permitted to be a property manager with the state, understanding from a law enforcement perspective how urban planning can affect and impact communities and to the betterment of the community. I believe it would be a benefit to sit on the planning commission, and would be honored to have the position. That pretty much sums it up. I mean, that's the short story, and maybe over beer I'll tell the long story, but I'll keep it out of the meeting, okay? Any questions, concerns?
No, I've got a comment to make. I'm sure glad I've got somebody else on my side that has a little bit of urban planning.
Yes.
We sure need it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, going to item number 3. Items for discussion and possible action on the planning commission. Item number 1, discussion and for possible action approval of the annual cleanup campaign plan where 1 street per week would be cleaned from May through September. I asked and had Jennifer redo, or not redo, but write out our agenda this time purposely to spend most of the amount of time of our meeting on this particular item because we're going to go before the city council right after our meeting here at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I thought, well, I did, and then I said, you know, I don't want to make a formal presentation to give them printed out like I had in mind originally, print out, deal, give it to them and say, this is what we'd like to follow this. And I think it's matters very much on us as a board to do a verbal thing within the meeting and give them our entire plan. So at this time, I'd like to force to discuss openly exactly how we want to present it to the city council. And my intent is we're right close to the top of the beginning of the council meeting, so gives us an opportunity to speak up. Will you be able to attend?
I've got so many things going on today, I won't be able to.
No, that leaves me.
Trying to clear up my schedule so I can get down to Las Vegas and
We'll get you taken care of. One of the reasons for that is, well, that leaves me out there only because Kurt's not here and Gary has to go through.
otherwise I'd be there, because right now I'm just going to race against time.
Well, anyway, my intent is going, again, asking for their cooperation on plans for the cleanup as we discussed before on every Monday morning and whatnot, and seeing if we can get part of the city crew to help us pick up this stuff and whatnot. Is there anything you want to bring
No, I
forward?
think we can go through the outline, and that's good enough.
Well,
for me.
yeah, I have a question. So, we're not authorized to put any plans into effect except the city council, right? We can only present
Right.
an idea or a proposal.
We cannot pass rules, regulations, or, you know,
Or enforcement.
If we do it, except today you're going to make our proposal or to the city council, they can revise it or change it or add to it,
well,
or do anything that they feel.
they have to look at it and make an acceptance of the program. If they make an acceptance to the program, we can set down the rules and regulations that we wish them to abide by. Not necessarily that we can enforce them. We are not an enforcing agency. We do not have the ability or the legal end of it, right, to do this. We can only advise to the council, and they give us the authority to go ahead and proceed with a program or anything other than that.
Well, the point I'm going to be driving at is that we've made these proposals to the city council at least a year ago and they haven't done anything. Now, if we make another proposal to them, what's going to happen? Are they going to go sit on
I
it?
want results.
Right.
I think the issue when it was presented before was the use of city crews and city equipment during the busiest times for the street crews and things like that. They just didn't see where they were going to have the manpower, so I think the understanding was that if we wanted to have some kind of a cleanup campaign, we had to do something where it was not going to utilize city crews.
Well,
Well, we also
We're
proposed that we could
cleaning up.
only use it on a Monday for 4 hours. I mean, they couldn't,
We're proposing something that's a benefit to the city, which means cleaning up the
Yeah.
city and making it presentable. And if the city doesn't want to cooperate within their own city, that's a problem with the council, and I'm looking at that in that respect.
Well, you know, the annual cleanup campaign, you guys have obviously talked about this during your work session. I think you probably ought to detail or put on the record for this meeting what the details you're proposing.
That's one of the reasons why I want that, kind of put everything onto this meeting so that we are in agreement with the details. That's, I'm not going to argue the point whether the city can, will, or won't, whatever. It's what we're going to propose to the council today for their cooperation in this effect. And anyway, to start with it, we really wanted to start within the first week of May, but I don't think that's going to happen now. So it's going to be probably mid-May or something like that. And that is to utilize, to begin with, the city crew, because that's the only thing that we can rely on at this time. One dump truck and 2 men, 3 men, whatever it requires. I don't know what the labor laws are within the city, whether you have to have 2 people on a truck to drive it, or 2 people, 1 in the truck and 2 on the side. I have no idea. I know from working with the power company, you couldn't send 1 person up a pole. There had to be 2 people on the ground in the meantime while he's climbing the pole to watch it. But I don't know what the situation is with the city in that respect. And that is to go pick a particular street and be all people living on the street, and as an example, which one we want to use, our proposal is to start with the Murray Canyon and take Murray Street first, and there's 71 residents on both sides of the street. And that is for them to put out, and when we say trash, I don't mean their household trash, not their cans of, empty cans of soup or whatever. It's what's within their yard, like just junk that's around, clean up the area. And they bring that to the curb. And all the rest of the group, what the city crew would have to do is pick it up and haul it to the landfill at no cost to the property owner, because they're already paying the landfill bill. And this is, would be a good service to the community, and it would also show good faith from the city to its residents that they're willing to help out make this a better town. We've had remarks from people that come into town, and I've heard this, and I've seen it in form letters, or not form letters, but requested, what a beautiful setting this community is in. Why did you build such a dirty little filthy town? These beautiful mountains surrounding and everything else. It isn't going to take, I see, this is not, an idea that we've come up with. This is a program I've seen used elsewhere and accomplished all the way through, and it's proven to be worthwhile. And if we utilize the crew for 4 hours to go up one street, take care of that this week. Next week, we go to the next street, we notify all the property owners on a Friday that they will be by Monday, so it gives them all weekend to clean up the mess around their house or whatever. We can take a look at empty lots that are not being utilized with the weeds growing, and there is the Soil Conservation Agency that has special solutions that they can spray these weeds and kill them off so they don't extend all over the place and whatnot. There's programs that can be inflicted with all of this, but unless you start something, nothing will ever get accomplished.
Well, there was another question raised. There are some property owners where the owner is an elderly widow, and she has an old couch, old chair. She can't move that. Could the city crew go to the front yard and remove it? It won't be on the sidewalk.
Well, the thing about it
There's
is
no way
they
she
won't
can
be
do it.
allowed, actually by law, you're not allowed to go onto somebody else's property and do that. Maybe somewhere along the line on something, if we should know, maybe some of us could help, or a program for the Boy Scouts, they might go in to help this elderly lady get it to the curb, or their neighbor. But if you don't have a program to start something, they're not going to be aware of it. So that's the only, we can't solve all the problems. We can just begin to try to solve part of the problem, to begin a solution for the problem. And that's the way I view it. And after watching this take effect in other communities, and any time we've all traveled through Utah or something like that, you go through a small town in Utah, you notice how nice and clean it is. And this is the way they do it. They do it nightly. It's not a new program, it's just a good program. And I'd like to see it take into our community and possibly do some benefit for its residents. And the nicer we make our community look, the more inviting it's going to be to the outsider. If you want to freak out sometime, there's 4 major entries in the one coming, say, from the McGill side or the Ruth side, or coming down Mill Street or the Great Basin Boulevard. All you have to do, drive out a mile or 2 from the town, turn around and come back in, and pretend you're a tourist. This is the first time you come to town. You're just traveling this road. It's the first time you've ever entered. Look at both sides of the street as you're entering and see what you see. We're used to seeing it, so we pay no attention to it. But as an outsider, it isn't very appealing.
I agree with that.
So unless we do something, and I think this is a program that can be very well accepted by the residents, and I think it would be very beneficial to the city because they get compliments for finally doing something for their community, because filling check holes with gravel is not my idea of a good method. But anyway, I know that you've got something to say.
Well, I just have a couple, comment and a couple questions.
Certainly,
The
let's
first
hear it.
comment is, if you are taking your own trash to the landfill, it's always free. I mean, it doesn't matter when it happens, it's always free. So essentially, there's always been a cleanup campaign.
Oh,
because people
definitely,
can
I'm
take
not
their
going
own
to
stuff the
disagree with
landfill.
that.
No, that's not true.
I don't know that I appreciate being interrupted by somebody in the audience when I'm trying to speak. If a person is not taking his things to the landfill, I don't see why a person would haul it out to his curb. And most of the problem residents that we have here, problem homes, are vacant landowners, people that don't live here. And they just let their houses go to pot. So, I mean, that's an issue that this really won't address. And then finally, you said you'd let residents know on a Friday that their street was going to be addressed on the following Monday. How are you proposing that's going to happen?
The proposal there is we're going to print up a notice and we're going to distribute it to each household
When you say we, who is we?
I look at myself and I look
I
at
can
some
do
of,
that.
a couple of volunteers. In our discussion, all of the board members are all in favor of helping out. Also, depending on what happens here with the Boy Scouts later on because of this day thing, I talked to 2 Scout Masters and they think that's a nice little program for the Boy Scouts that possibly they could do to help out. We're not asking, I will not be asking the city or its membership to help on that part of it. All we're asking the city to do is to donate some manpower and a truck for a couple hours a week.
But you know what Kevin referred to, we just have to go 3 blocks down the street there are 3 vacant buildings and there's junk piled up, you probably know that, whatever.
Well, a good thing.
Now, who's gonna go in there, if you say the city crew cannot go into that yard and pick up that junk,
Go ahead.
and on the front porch, there's a collection of junk there, it's a real eyesore. They're gonna, in order to clean that up, they're gonna have to go in there and pick up that old
Well,
junk and load it up on the truck because they won't come to the curb.
okay, well, we have ordinances on the books already that can cover that. The thing about it is right now, just as an example, is at one time, we owned a lot in Twilla, Utah. My aunt, it was my aunt's and she passed away and I inherited it. It was an empty one. And as I'd go into Twilla and whatnot, I'd see trash thrown on it and everything else. Well, I got a letter from the council addressing the fact that I had 30 days to clean it up. If I didn't do it within 30 days, they would send the city crew in and they would clean it up. By their ordinance, they could do that, go in after I was notified. They would clean it up and they would send me the bill or add it to my tax roll. Well, for me to travel from here to Twilla, Utah, clean up the lot, go to the dump, and come back and whatnot, it was far more costly than $100 they charged me to do it. Now, if our ordinances are like that, and it says they can go in, and they haven't responded within that 30 days, the city crew can go in and clean it up at that time, or whomever we have, and then attach it to their taxes, or bill them and see if they pay it. If they don't pay it, then you attach their taxes. If they don't want to pay it on their taxes, you just acquire the property.
Well, why don't we enforce that rule if we have that ordinance?
We've had them on,
We do?
Yeah, we started last year.
Same as
Place
this.
here on Mill Street that we
And
sent
then
a crew in.
mentioned on Mill Street, there's a property on Murray Street too, over there.
well, I
Unoccupied and,
We have to go through the process. I mean, once we receive notice that somebody has a problem with the property, then we send notice to the property owner. And if they don't respond to that, we put it on a city council agenda. The city council then has the authority to direct to start that process, which then means I send a letter. Once I send the letter, they've got the 30 days to respond, or we send a crew in. We started that last year.
Should
This
we-
place down here, almost where Murray and Mill Street come together, right by the, well, just on the other side of the four-way stop where the hill is. We sent a city crew in there on a vacant home and cleaned it up. It looks great.
Well, do you want us, as a planning commission, to make a list of some of these properties that are vacant and are dilapidated?
well, that's something we have to ask the city council if they want to give us that approval.
Well, no. You would be doing that as a private citizen. If you see a house that, you know, in your neighborhood or wherever, that you think is a problem, then you report that to City Hall. City Hall then sends out the first notice. I mean, we send multiple notices because, you know, the Constitution says a person has a right to own property and to be safe and secure in that property. And so when you enter a person's property, and you have to make sure everything is done completely and properly, otherwise you can face some pretty significant liability. So we make sure that we send plenty of notice, we follow the ordinance, and it does take some time. And generally during the winter, we don't do that because people can't get out and clean up their property when there's snow on the ground. It doesn't do a lot of good. And now that it's spring again, I'm sure Jim has started that process again.
Well, I did list this one property on Mill Street, I think 2 years ago. I believe that Jim did send a letter out, that he sent a copy to me.
Well, I see
But
where,
it's still in the same condition, weeds are 4 feet
I see
high.
where it's taken effect on some of the properties that we, like on Clark Street.
We had about 5 of them that we did last year.
And they did,
Last summer.
yeah, clean up, but it does have an effect, but,
But boy, they are.
that's, the purpose of the program that I want to, that we've discussed, that we want to establish, to put it that way, is not particularly on pieces of individual property. It is
Yeah.
a fact to try to clean up, to begin to instill some pride back into the community, to show some enthusiasm. I mean, after all, CNN picked Ely as one of the top 10 communities in the country that are coming up out of the doldrums and doing something about it. People here sure as hell don't know about it. So,
I agree.
But if you read the newspaper, Gary, there's a lot of things being done to clean up some of these properties, and they even condemned one up on Ely, or Ely, is it Street or Avenue? So, you know, they are actually attacking the worst ones.
but the program here is to involve the entire community, not just individual properties or anything else. And assuming that I clean up mine, Kevin cleans up his, and we've got a neighbor in between us that his place is a living mess and we don't like it, it degrades the value of his property and mine. So now, what we would do after that is kind of get on the property owner next to us and say, you're gonna clean up and we're gonna help you get it out so we look better, you know? I'm tired of letting chip-shot things happen and the value of other people's property being lowered because of an individual down the street, and I'll show you, oh boy, some good ones all over the town.
Oh, you and I took a trip one time.
Yeah.
We took
But little by little, if there isn't a program, and if we don't want to do anything, or if we just forget about doing anything, nothing's ever going to happen. Now, I'm hoping this program takes effect and works. That's all I gotta say. I can't verify, I can only show you facts elsewhere. Whether it works here or not, I don't know. You know, it's gonna require cooperation. It's gonna require our cooperation, the city council's cooperation, and the people within the city's cooperation. It takes all of us to do it right. Is there anything else you want to list on before I go before the council today?
No, that's my primary concern about I think I mentioned one time that both the streets that are traveled by visitors and vacationers and tourists, Mill Street and Murray Street, these are key streets. It connects 6th Avenue to Highway 6 with Altman and all that. And I live in, of course you do, and I see some of these beautiful roads going through there, trailers, big ones. And I just wonder what these people think of these areas when they pass some of those houses. In fact, one time I went to a barber in Vegas, and I told him that we have a little home in Ely, and we intend to move there in a couple of years. And this is the honest truth. He said, "You're going to move to that dump?" Really? I'm not lying. He asked me, "You're going to move to that dump?" There may be a dump. He said, "Well, we've driven through twice," and he said, "the dilapidated houses, the junk in there, and you're moving